This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. Hello, Timothy Seymour Dahl. I'm just back in action.
Yes, you are. Action Jackson. Yeah, I'm kind of, I guess we had the long weekend. I had a recording session on Saturday.
What were you recording?
I was recording at what or where?
What and where?
I was recording with this guy, Jonathan Hafner, well, the Matt Nelson that we know, and Brian Chase, the drummer of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. We had some
Cool.
yeah,
All right.
so we had a little thing, and I'm excited about that. I guess what else happened? I saw Simon. There were some barbecues on Memorial Day.
Well, on Memorial Day, I was taking that long trip from Warsaw to Amsterdam and back. And I'm happy to be back in my own forensic studio for now, till I leave
Yes,
again.
but you're a little spunky today. I know sometimes when you get off those planes, we all know it can
Well,
be a little
I
tiring.
got off a couple of days ago, but yes, I'm spunky as usual. What are you going to do? I'm full of spunk.
Just totally enjoy it. And that's totally enjoy.
Absolutely. Look, I had a great tour with Mark Hurtado. The Suicide Tour was great. Stopped in Switzerland for a few days, planning some big art financial scandals there that I hope will come to fruition. And all is well. Hung out with
Good.
Sebastian Greppa, which is always a fun time.
That's
Of course,
always
the
fun.
master tour manager, driver, and karaoke superstar.
That's cool, cool. Yeah, uh, he's all of those things, and he's
Look, I look
always.
like I have an octopus coming out of the one side of my head because my fan is on. Kind of cool.
I mean,
I think I'm gonna starch my hair into like one tentacle.
speaking of octopus, did you eat any octopus in
You
this last
know I
tour?
ate some octopus. Come on. In
Italy,
Switzerland.
France,
Yes,
Switzerland.
it was
Okay,
delicious.
all
Oh, I
right.
had a few places. I'm just trying to gather one of their 8 or 9 brains from one of their tentacles and
Oh
just
my
add it
God.
to my 6 or 7 brains. So yeah, it was good. Everything was actually pretty smooth. It's better driving than it is flying. I'm telling you that. And we did do some driving.
Yes. Well, it seems like yeah, quite a bit, but
Which
yes.
we're going to be doing some driving soon coming up as well. I cannot
Yeah.
wait
Yes, we
for
are.
Murderous again with Kevin Shea and Eric and Eugene Robinson's Boone Well. We'll talk about that as it comes closer to the date. But in the meantime, I'm back in action. You're here. We're here. We're both in Brooklyn. Simon's in Brooklyn. And I'm sure we'll be getting down and getting on it very soon. In the meantime, we are, as always, the Lydian Spin. So what's up?
I don't know. I mean, there's all this world stuff, but then there's some really dumb stuff. Did you ever hear of the reality show? Chris Lee Knows Best.
Of course I have. What a bunch of corporate cocksucking capitalist criminals. No wonder they've just been pardoned.
Were they pardoned? I thought they were sentenced to 12
They
and
were
7 years.
just pardoned by Trump,
Like what? Like an hour
like
ago?
yesterday.
Oh my God. I'm so slow with this stuff. Oh, because they're like reality TV stars, they get pardoned.
Because there were maggots, of course. And what
Yeah, they've
about
been
the
in prison
sheriff?
for years.
Yeah, not long enough. And what about the sheriff he just pardoned, who also took like $74,000 in grift, some fat fuck criminal. I mean, the thing is, it's obvious who he's pardoning. Anybody that wants to, suck up to him. In the meantime, I think the most hilarious thing is he's going after a university that many members of Congress, including his son in law, went to as if he has any authority to do that, which he does not. Here is somebody that didn't even fully graduate with an IQ of possibly 78, who is going after universities because he doesn't like that they won't follow his ridiculous concept of who should and who shouldn't go to universities. I mean, look, if you get into Harvard, a lot of criminals came out of Harvard. That's why I don't get that he doesn't. I don't understand this duality.
No,
He's just jealous of
but no,
everything.
no, no. But isn't there? Didn't someone way high up in the front office sue Trump successfully for a lot of money? So there's he has a lot of people he's trying to get
Right, the
revenge
guy
with.
who had a failed university wants to shut down one of the. And look, a lot of crime has come out of Harvard. Not to mention the hazing, and not to mention everything else. But that no other Republican or Democrat, many of who have gone to either Yale or Harvard, have come up and said, "You, who graduated the worst in your class, who can't even complete a full sentence at the moment, is going after Harvard." Which you have. The thing is, he's not focusing on anything that matters, only everything that hurts anybody else, because his ego is so sensitive.
I mean, yeah,
I mean,
whatever.
when you lie about your height, you really got a problem.
I mean, there's a lot of problems coming on the horizon. I mean, there's a mass bond sell-off in Japan right now, which is spooking people.
Maybe they should be selling bonsai as well.
The conflict that happened recently between Pakistan and India is people are kind of poking into that more because
Horrifying.
It was using the most state of the art planes and jets and all that stuff, and basically everyone's thinking in a weird way because both those countries are very corrupt. There was an agreement amongst people who were super high off to kind of do that. Like 70-something people died as a basically market research for the military industrial complex, including ourselves, and all these people were involved to really watch this new equipment. So it's just so gross. And another reason a lot of the war in Ukraine is also being sustained, and a lot of peace agreements aren't really coming about. The word is, France, all these people, big military industrial complexes, basically just wanting to keep it going so they can
Well,
make money.
hey, look,
and
peace
see,
is not profitable.
no,
War
it's
is
not.
big business. The issue is this: if everybody, and they're not going to, because let's face it, who joins the military voluntarily or by inscription? It's men, usually poor men or men that think that there is a future in the military. If everyone decided, and they're not going to not go to war, the problem is we are now becoming so technologically advanced that we're not going to need people on the battlefront. So this is all a fraud as well. It's like we don't actually need people to be on the battlefront killing each other when we could just buy, hypersonic detonation, destroy and vacuum the people out, and leave the architecture alone, if you don't mind. But again,
Yeah.
now we have something else to focus on besides Ukraine and Gaza, which we cannot avoid because it's hideous, it's horrendous. And finally, the craziest one of all is now calling the other crazy rat in the rat house crazy. So, and Putin comes back when Trump called him crazy and said, "You're having an emotional overload." Well, hello, that's what happens when you have a fragile ego.
Well, Ukraine and all these conflicts, it's the people get screwed. I mean, the latest
It's totally
NATO report. He's like, okay, so with Gaza, it's in Israel's best interest to downplay the amount of casualties. It's also Hamas's best interest to downplay the casualties because they're fucking shitheads too. So it's like, so it's basically like everyone's trying to downplay it because it makes everyone look bad. But come on, it's just
well,
I just
and again, I mean, the count of how many countries are in conflict right now is so phenomenal. It would take the entire podcast to name them all, but we just focus on a few at a time to avoid the real issue that men in positions of power are waging war against other for either God, land, or natural resources, same as it ever was. This is the fucking mantra that has come out of my lips, I think, since my first war in the womb. Thank you.
yes. When was your first piece?
When it was just me and not me and my brother coming out of that of
Ooh.
that burgundy vacuum. Oh,
Oh
yeah.
God.
I knew I was doing the world a favor by eliminating a possible future, if not war criminal, certainly serial killer. Because just imagine, let's not.
Yeah, let's not. Let's not.
I do
eh,
all the time, and I have to say, I'm proud of myself. I prevented a lot of problems. I can't solve any, but I prevented a few. Thank you very much.
yes.
And
Well,
I'm feeling good today. It must be because
you're
I wash
see,
my hair, which I rarely do. I don't know.
I don't understand how it's your hair doesn't get greasy ever. It makes no
It
sense.
just gets drier because it doesn't.
It just doesn't. I don't know.
No, because I'm not greasy.
You're not. You're not. You're
But
silky. Silky.
I'm silky smooth, yeah,
Yeah,
baby.
exactly.
It just gets silky. I don't know. I'm a fembot. You can't explain, the peccadillos or the way that I am. It's impossible. Let's not even bother. Thank you
It's
very
not your
much. Now,
bother.
what about you, Tim Dahl?
Just
I'm
breathe.
getting very excited about our coming events,
Yes, and I have
including seeing you for the first time in a few weeks.
yeah, exactly. I play this Saturday with Peter Evans and Mike Pride, Pulverize the Sound in
Oh,
Newburgh, upstate, just one show. And then next
Sunday
week,
is my birthday, and I do expect something.
oh well, that's
Simon said he'd bring a pie. I said he brings me a pie. He's getting it in his left eye. I am the pie queen. I don't need a pie.
I
I
got
don't
some
even eat pie.
ideas. I got some ideas.
I got some ideas too. And you know what? Every day's my birthday. So I think you owe me about 1,001 gifts. You can give them to me one at a time or all at once.
Okay.
Your presence
Deal.
is my gift. Come on. Come on.
Deal.
Knowing you is a gift to myself.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
it's
cool.
not that nice. Considering you don't have much competition, Tim.
Well, wait, hold on. Let's go back.
Go back to what? The beginning, the bacterial state? You want to go back 6 billion years? I know that's what you're studying now.
Sunday's not your birthday. Tuesday's your birthday.
I'm celebrating it on Sunday
Oh,
because every day is my birthday.
so actually, Sunday could be your birthday, but your birth date, which it's always a strange word. Birthday is on Tuesday. Happens.
Well, I've met a few people on tour actually that shared my birthday, and now I know about 3 or 4 others that, as well as I, share the Marquis de Sade. Of course, they haven't taken him to heart as much as I have taken his philosophy to heart. His sexual predilections are just reporting on the bourgeoisie. Come on.
That's a funny coincidence that you share your birthday with.
Pardon me. That's right.
It's an amazing coincidence that you share your birthday.
Well, I mean, the philosophy, not in the bedroom, which is just overrated and overstated. It's the dialogue between a priest and dying man, where his true philosophy is stated very clearly, and that's what I took upon myself to carry on in the tradition of that God was the first cop and the first cock, and the bourgeois, the rich will fucking kill whatever they want. Hello.
So I share my
literally
birthday.
fuck or kill or fuck and kill. What about the crypto crime that just happened in New York?
Which one?
Well, there was a young crypto millionaire that seduced another one from Italy to come over, held him, tortured him for weeks in his house, trying to get his code. Didn't get it. The guy escaped. I guess enough is never enough, and too much. Well, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for that theory to play out. But anyway.
Yes. I don't know. What else? I got show on the 5th at the Stone in Manhattan with Kyoichi.
You know, I boycott that place. Have fun.
Japanese legend. Yes, that's gonna be
I boycott it. I don't like it.
Fair enough. You boycott a lot of places.
That's it. I'm having a good time. Yes. I mean, I'm enjoying life because it's the only rebellion. As we know, my mantra, pleasure is the only rebellion against these ever increasing times of stupidity, arrogance, greed, and genocide. I mean, you're either going to collapse under the weight of this bullshit, or you're going to rise, and maybe it's only your little pinky sticking up through the dirt and shit that you're buried under that's going to be going, ha, 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 paint a smiley face on your fucking middle finger. That's all I can say.
I like that.
Thank you very much. And I have like 2 of them, so there we go.
There
I'm going to paint some smiley faces.
And I like this week's guest.
Smiling faces. Sometimes you pretend to be your friend. A smile is just your frown turned upside down.
Yes. I sometimes tell people who are smiling to turn their upside down frown down.
Well, you know what I say when they tell me to smile? I'd rather shit on your fucking forehead. Don't tell me to smile. I'm laughing. Smiling. That's an understatement.
Yes.
Anyway, this is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dolan.
And this week's
Simon Slater relaxing on the couch, just overhearing and then editing this stuff. And our guest is improvisational genius, philosopher, poet Matthew Shipp. It's going to be a good one. It always is.
Yes, it is.
This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dolan, and Matthew Shipp, who's releasing into the universe or the multiverse a few things right now, which is his book, Black Mystery School, Pianist and Other Writings, and we're going to get into that. And you have an album coming out, a new one soon, too, on Cantaloupe Records, A Cosmic Piano. So welcome, Matthew Shipp, improvisational piano philosopher, poet, as far as I can tell from just devouring your book.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Good to see you, Matt.
Good to see you, Tim.
You've been in the news lately, but we're going to talk about your book. But you have, you've been, your profile's out there. People in the know about you. But is there a threshold with 15 minutes of fame? I mean, if you have like, is it like tens of thousands, or at what point is it 15? I mean, you already had fame in your world, but
Right.
now it's like in the pop culture world. It's kind of interesting how that.
How mysterious is it that a small diss of something that sucks makes all the attention?
It's very weird. I did a Facebook post on a dare from a music journalist who called me up and said, "You have a big mouth. You this Andre, his this piano album is horrible." And I said, "No, I'm not going to write it." He goes, "You have to." And I just said, "No, no way." And I started listening to it.
Thousands improvisational piano thing.
Yes, I listened to it on YouTube, and I was like, I'm still talking to this journalist. He's a friend of mine. And I'm like, this is not good, but I'm not going to go. And then right on Facebook. And then I saw the photo of this of Andre at the Met Gala and my
Yeah.
head exploded. My head just exploded. So I started like typing. Then I left home and for a couple of hours, walked back home. And I was thinking I should erase that. It was kind of nasty. I was just blowing off some steam. And I ran into these kind of hip hop graffiti art kids that I know on the street, and they were like, "Wow, that thing!" And I, "How do you know?" Because I know they're not on Facebook, and they're like, "It's everywhere." And I'm like, "What?" So I learned my lesson about things going viral. I had never experienced anything remotely like this ever.
It's yeah.
All the dissing I do to, well, mostly politics, you think, I'm glad they leave me alone, I have to say. But from one of my dissertations on an album many years ago by a band I will not mention, which was quite vicious, they did compliment me by calling me walking pornography. So I'm like, that was just anything I'd ever heard from a record I thought was also kind of shitty.
Well,
Right.
well, one thing is, because when Andre moved to New York some years back, not that long ago, he started popping up at weird avant, like some noise shows, or I did a thing with Tyshawn and at the Stone, and he showed up to that, and I met him, a nice guy. But the way I interpreted what happened there is, and I guess the tsunami of this reality is kind of it's here, and there's not much we can do about it. Is the commentary on just anyone putting out anything all the time without any kind of filters, and
Right.
particularly a celebrity getting a lot of attention.
Well, that's what made me explode.
Yeah. I mean, you believe he has the right to do it, but why should it get as much attention as it does? Yeah,
Right. Well, and I didn't meet him, but I
people are ignorant of the good shit that already exists.
exactly.
Like your stuff. By the way, from Bowie to Thurston Moore and many other people who you didn't even play with necessarily are all have sung your praises. And here we are. You're on the Lydian Spin, so that's good. It's
Right.
this is what we're.
We met, even though I used to be a nightly at the Pyramid years ago. I never actually met you there, but we met in the '90s at a party Henry Rollins had at I think it was Lakeside Lounge here. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that. Henry had some. Anyway, I met you there.
But again, and then to Henry Rollins, and then all of the incredible people you played with. Now let's talk about your book for a minute, and I hope you're going to read some passages because I'm going to read some passages from your book. How about that?
Okay.
Yes, I got some quotes I need to get out that you wrote. Well, one thing I want to start with first is you talk about William Burroughs a lot in the book. And I'm just wondering, because to me, the best line Burroughs ever wrote, besides, Languages of Iris, is the algebra of need. And you have a chapter called the algebra of what?
Non-jazz.
Hello. Just wondering if that was a reference or not, maybe.
I think Bill was in the back of my mind. Yes.
I mean, it's so, and of course, this is the ongoing question, debate, discussion. What is jazz? And I even
said a new word according to my hearing: discussion, gushing, discussion. That's what I'm doing over this book. I'm just gushing.
I'm just gushing. Yeah.
Very poetic and very philosophical. Sorry, Jim.
Oh no, well, what were you going to say about what is jazz?
No. I mean, I think that touches on, and it's still a debate to this day of what defines jazz. I mean, a lot of people will claim, well, it needs to incorporate some improv, but Billie Holiday's without a doubt a jazz singer, but
right.
Often, I mean, she wasn't scatting and stuff. Right. So,
well, it's a word. It has 4 letters. And it's what anybody wants to make it. I mean, there's complete freedom in this universe, and gatekeepers need to. I've actually, on certain hip hop websites, people are calling me a gatekeeper now, which is pretty hysterical.
I'll be a gatekeeper, which is fine. I like that.
Right, but jazz is whatever it needs to be for you. There is no
fair
definition, and there is nobody deciding what it is.
Yeah, well, Yusuf Lateef told me. Sorry,
what you say in your book, like free jazz can be, boxing, because I love to box, is direct and visceral. There exist both jazz and boxing subcultures. Historically, sports and arts have been strong alternatives to mainstream economics in the Black community. I love the comparison of a good boxing match to a good improvisational set.
Right.
Very much so.
And I'm a big boxing fan. So
you are.
Yes. I mean, it was Miles Davis's birthday yesterday. He was
too. Yes.
He was a lot of jazz musicians are big.
Wait, whose birthday was it?
Miles Davis yesterday was his birthday. And he was I'm a boxing fanatic, Now, there's a few things I'm a fanatic of. Boxing, music, mysticism.
Okay.
And 80s New York culture.
All right.
But no, I was going to read that prose poem, which is called Boxing and Jazz.
How did I read your mind?
We are in the same wavelength,
Which we're all on the same electromagnetic.
Well, I mean, Miles basically said in some ways Sugar Ray Robinson got him off of heroin because he humiliated him at a bar, and he was like trying to roll with Sugar Ray Robinson, and he's like, what are you talking about? You junkie. And he was like so devastated because he looked up to him so much. Right. And that kind of inspired him to quit.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Boxing to especially out jazz. A lot of times I want to punch the motherfuckers right in the face, get them off the stage. I'm just saying.
This book is dedicated to John Ferris, who did you know John Ferris?
I met John Ferris.
Okay. He was a very cantankerous old Black poet. He was one of my best friends, and he was a known heckler also. And he's had bands come off the stage and try to stab him after heckling. So, but I love. Where did you meet John?
It was years ago. I think in probably East Village or some shit like that, or somewhere. Right.
Now, why would they want to do that? Because usually it's me that wants to do the stabbing.
To the band, right. Well, John would sit there and scream at John had a very specific cadence, and he would say, "Motherfuckers, you ain't shit. Get off the stage. You ain't shit, motherfucker."
So wait. So they wouldn't want to stab him because he was on stage, but he was off stage heckling the people on the stage.
Exactly.
Oh, right.
And there is one situation where a band member did go get a knife and came after him. People got involved and nothing happened. But
I mean, as a professional heckler, from where I got my spoken word.
Well, I think the two of you should do like sports commentary on an improv thing with a microphone and that kind of form of heckling, just making a play-by-play commentary. I think the two of you could.
And when we're off this conversation, I'm going to tell you about my favorite heckling incidences. That happened, one of them, to involve Henry Rollins.
Oh, okay.
Might as well just tell it now, although it's a popular one. Why am I opening for Henry Rollins' spoken word frat bar band, his band? Somebody says, "Show me your tits." I'm like, "Hey, they've been everywhere. Plus, they're just my balls. They've ascended. I do." And I had a maglet, and I go, "Now show me your dick." Rollins' band takes his pants down. I go, "That's why they call it a magnlight. I'd need a magnifying light glass to see it." Just saying. You don't out heckle the heckler.
Oh my God.
Thank you very much, from where I got my spoken word start, basically.
Oh my God.
You used to go all the time and CBGBs and dance at your. Now, in your book, you're admitting to being like a club kid who was into dancing. Look
Right.
at you. Have you changed? No.
Yes, I'm going to be 65. I don't club any longer. But
Well, because suck.
yeah,
Except for
and there's nothing to do in New York now like that. I mean,
the dance.
right. But I in the 80s, I had my life as a jazz musician, and I didn't really start going on the road to like 89, 90, and I moved here in 83. So I had nothing to do at night because I didn't have any gigs. I do my day job practice, and then I'd go clubbing, trying to pick up as many women as I could at the Pyramid. I was a playboy, back
You
then.
ever pick up RuPaul off the bathroom floor? I'm just asking.
Right. Well, no, but I mean, I love drag queen culture. Also, it was new to me when I moved here. It was like, and I was like, what is this? And I got sucked into the whole world, and I loved it. I loved it.
So many talented people out of that period. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Were you were friends with Hattie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Brian. He was great. But yeah, I used to go dancing every night, and usually the Pyramid. If it wasn't the Pyramid, I'd take a night off. Some nights go to the World, which was the most decadent place I ever.
A vast, dark pit
Yeah,
of whatever.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I actually even remember somewhere going to some party Michael Ailey did. I don't remember if it was at the World or somewhere. I just, um, and then
Michael Alec, Michael Alago. So Michael Alec, who's the one who killed and dismembered somebody in the bathtub and then went to prison for a few years.
Angel, yes,
Killer of club kids.
right. But I hated Limelight, by the way, where the club kid phenomena eventually went to Limelight. That was not my scene. I was, the Pyramid, Danceteria, some occasionally area.
Did you hate it because of just the vibe or the music changed?
Sounding dirty.
Right, both the vibe and the music change.
Music change. I mean, were you like into freestyle? Were you into hip hop, or what was your choice of club music?
I was into really early hip hop, freestyle. I love freestyle.
Okay.
And like a lot of European synth pop.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was really into, but I really like. I mean, the freestyle thing is interesting because I lived on Clinton and Delancey then, and when you went across Houston Street, it became like mainly a Puerto Rican neighborhood.
Yep.
And I just loved like kind of. Well, okay, let me get really serious about this. I lived in Wilmington, Delaware before. I used to have a whole big thing for Puerto Rican girls, but in the 70s, like if a black guy in Delaware talked to a Puerto Rican girl, it was not cool. Okay. I mean, let's just leave it at that. I mean, I
Delancey and Clinton too.
Right.
Like 1980, when there was nothing there then. It ain't like it is now.
But
right,
the thing is, Matt, is there's a lot of black Puerto Ricans.
Puerto Rican girls.
Yeah, there are, but there was just a thing in Wilmington, Delaware, where okay, my cousin lived in this place, and there was this big park, and there was a big Puerto Rican neighborhood on this side of the park, and the park was half Puerto Rican, half black. And if you crossed over to the other side, there could be a problem.
Yep.
So and I don't know why, and despite that there are black Puerto Ricans, so when there were a couple of Puerto Rican girls I had crushes on when I was a teenager, but I would dare never to ask them out. So when I moved to New York and I started going to all these clubs and freestyle was going on and everybody was mixed on the dance floor, I was like it was just like, wow, I could dance with a Puerto Rican girl. I could get lucky. I was just
Sure.
like heaven for me. So to answer your style, the whole freestyle kind of like Latin hip hop culture
Yeah.
was really new to me, and it was just I was in my early 20s.
Well, it was new. It was new in general.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's so funny about that, or interesting about that music now, with like dance music or dance pop with auto tune, it sounds so different. Where you have quantized metric timing with MIDI, yet they're singing out of tune a lot. And for me, I was like, that's one of the elements I think is cool about it. Actually, it's like bizarre.
Yeah, well, the freestyle, the more corny it is, the more I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and it just really works for me. I don't know why. I just have such good memories in New York back then.
Right.
Yeah.
So can we hear can you read one of these passages?
So you want me to read the boxing piece?
Sure.
I'll ask Lydia.
Of course I do.
Okay, well, we're gonna go to boxing. This piece was originally there was a magazine called Cake in Minneapolis, and they did a sports and arts edition, and they asked me to write a piece,
Oh,
and I told them I'm a big boxing fan, and I said I'll do a piece on boxing and jazz, and this is what came out. Boxing and jazz, a kinetic chess game, signals being translated at the speed of light. What is the essence of jazz, and what is the essence of the killer instinct as defined in boxing? A text of the manipulation of signals in a dance of gestures. Can both boxing and jazz be seen as a dance? Is there any connection in the dialogue of two improvisers on, say, sax and piano, and the dialogue of two men defining themselves through a repertoire of jabs and uppercuts to each other's flesh? The combination of grace, intelligence, and cunning that both disciplines require if one contends to succeed. Like free jazz can be, boxing is direct, visceral. There exists both jazz and boxing subcultures. Historically, sports and arts have been strong alternatives to the mainstream economics in the Black community. To an untrained ear, jazz can sound crazy. To an untrained eye, boxing can seem mad. As the ear and eye becomes trained, one learns the complex patterns that underlie the boxing match or the jazz solo. The theater of kinetic gesture, a kaleidoscope of intelligent, quicksilver action generates a structure of intense beauty. For the body becomes poetry in motion, whether through a keyboard or in the ring. Complex pattern action generates a poetic time and space, violent yet dance-like, uncivilized yet graceful, raw yet sophisticated. The old timers always refer to a great improviser as someone who tells a story. A great boxer tells a story, but not with words or notes, but in a refined language of will and transposed aggression. These acts of self expression, fighting and playing a musical instrument, a neurological dance, the placement of fluid reflexes that reaches into a rhythmic pattern of a deeper intensity of human motivation. Is it a madness? The jazz solo speaks about the beauty of the neurological system, for it must mirror what it comes out of. Thus, in both dances, jazz and boxing, we come to the essence, improvisation, which is the unfoldment of the space time of each, a system of symbols that generates the language of each, blue notes and blood.
I love it.
Uh, the sensations that dance brings and the rhythmic firing of cells in the brain. A ritual out of time explores the parameters of being in time, the essence of the chromatic scale as it transposes being, or the animal lust of the boxing crowd as it senses the knockout of time, being, will, cunning, aggression, the sweet silence, placement of notes, hanging on by some psychic edge.
I love it.
Thank you, thank you.
I love it.
Yusuf Lateef called, he refused to use the word jazz, and he called it, you might know this, that it was autophysio-psychic music is what he called it.
Whoa.
Yes, which is like the physical, the self, and then the psychic communication.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
If I read something for your book to you that you wrote that I think is just the continuation of not only what you said, but Tim said?
Yes, did it.
I love it because it's very poetic, philosophical, and very mystical. I don't know what chapter this is from, but we live in a vibrational universe. Vibration in a vacuum state generates eternal pulse, forms a solid state system, which begs the question, if you're an improviser, what do you think about when you're playing? And is the act of playing a meditation to the void? Are you self-conscious when you play? Is the food that you ate your last meal kicking around in your stomach and that's what you're thinking about? Are you trying to impress people when you play with your technique? Or are you trying to make some girl sitting in the front row think you're cool? Are you in revolt against your whole upbringing and inculturalization? Yeah, man, free jazz is a way to get back at all those bourgeois motherfuckers. Now, I have to say, when I hear good improvisational jazz, I want to dance. And I have been the only one dancing to some gigs I saw that I thought were great. I'm like, I don't understand it. Why don't you have the voodoo in your soul to get up and shake your ass?
Right. Well, I think with free jazz, despite the fact that most people don't think of it as dance music, at its best, it is a dance of the central nervous system. I mean, it's a different rhythm, it's a different syntax, but it's playing with the vibes and the vibrational neurological underpinnings of energy and how things vibrate and move. So, that's
I love more than vibration, honey.
I'm gonna stay out of that. But yeah, I mean, all music is sexual on some level, and um, it's um, it's about pulse. It's about breaking up the rhythms in different ways. It's about how the central nervous system doesn't always dance to 4/4. 4/4 is great. I love what we know of as dance music, but some of us have weird central nervous system.
That's right. And you would never catch me dancing to dance music, although I might be caught shaking a tail feather to some old school soul or R&B, but no,
Right.
dance. No, but I've been known to get voodoo on some
Oh,
improv.
I've seen her move for sure.
I'm sure you.
What do you think of, Alvin Lucier, the composer? Alvin Lucier, he claimed he didn't believe improvisation even exists. That, is this conversation we're having right now? Is that an improv, or is this like what I know, whatever.
Well, okay. I mean, if you look at music as language, what are you doing? You're communicating. Like there's
Sure.
people in the bandstand. So I think the analogy to human conversation is very apt. I mean, we go into a conversation, you don't know what you're going to say to somebody,
Right.
but you trust that you both know English and you trust that communication is going to happen. The environment will stimulate something and then there'll be a response and then a conversation.
Yeah.
And I think it's apt. It's the same. It is, in one level, it is kind of the same type of process going on.
For sure.
So, I mean, in the book,
gig, you need two really hot Puerto Rican go-go dancers beside I think that should be the next performance. I'd pay
right.
for that.
Okay, well, I don't. I mean, my wife is Irish, so I'm not. It's not just Puerto Rican.
Just a performance, honey. It's just a performance.
I mean, Matt, would you consider having a stripper pole to your left and right of the grand piano during one of your performances?
Well, Duke Ellington. I think Duke Ellington said when he started playing in a society band, he did notice a woman at one hand and one at another hand. So but no, I mean, I go into an abstract space. That's
Sure.
I think you're blushing a little bit right now. I'm not
If
sure.
I was white, you would see it, but
if I was black, you would notice.
Right. Okay.
Well, if you knew me, you would know.
Right. But I do think that free jazz at its best is a very sensual music. I mean, sure, there's people that just get on stage and make noise, but and I'm not denigrating noise music because that's a whole different genre.
Well, I am. I don't like it at all. I don't
like
what white boy crack dick improv jazz because there's a lot of that going around. I don't like that either.
Right.
But it is good. It's good. It doesn't matter what format it takes.
Exactly. And I at its base is very sensual. It's mystical and sensual at the same time. And I think in the book, I'm a mystic. I'm an unapologetic mystic. I grew up in a very Christian background. I don't embrace Christianity per se, but all those symbols are deeply embedded in my subconscious mind, and so I deal with them. I deal with it. They mean something to me. Janae, who's one of my favorite writers, took Catholic imagery and really turned it up on its head.
John Janae.
Yes.
Do you know that we just had the guy, Pat Thomas, who put out an Evergreen Review anthology, and I didn't realize Jean Genet and the Black Panthers had anything to do with each other, but they did.
Oh, yeah. I have a whole album on this French label, RogueArt, which was about Genet's connection with the Black Panthers. And he came here. He was here for 1968 for the Democratic National Convention, and Genet had a real bond with the Black Panthers. So, but it's just kind of interesting. Yeah.
Well, maybe they just understood a true radical. But there's a very interesting interview with Genet and Playboy magazine from around that period.
Right.
I love this quote, and I think this was from maybe a recent interview about your album that's coming out June 20th, The Cosmic Piano. He said, I'm not really looking just to play piano music. I'm actually questioning existence, and I see improvising as a way to do that. On one level, the whole cosmos is an improvisation, and on another level, I consider these pieces to be organisms. In the same way that when you say cosmic, you think of the Big Bang, the universe coming into existence, planets coming into existence, and then organisms and people. Well, the compositions are organisms too. That's
Yeah,
right.
they're a lot. They're my babies. I mean, like everybody has dreams every night. I to me an improvisation is a function of my brain and central nervous system, and it's a child of sort. It's a thought form. I
Mhm.
work hard to develop the thought form so other people can get something out of them, but they're an organic part of my brain and my mind and my being. So that's how I approach improvisation as an organism.
And the brains of improvisational artists have been documented to
Yeah,
be unlike the rest of the norms out there, the normies.
for sure.
So
Right.
that's interesting. If anybody wants to look into the actual scientific differential between improvisational musicians and other people, there is a scientific study that same way there is one on serial killers. I mean, I'm just saying.
Right. Well, we're not the same as serial killers, but
No, no.
we are weird, crazy people.
Uh,
Hey, Matt, I have a question. Do you ever, I mean, I'm sure you have, of course, but do you ever perform through composed music?
Group
Through through
composed.
through through composed music?
Oh, through composed. Um, do I perform or
Or I mean,
compose?
or how often do you even play that? How often do you play through composed music?
Well, I grew up with a classical
Sure,
background,
sure.
and I haven't. I mean, it's funny because there was a composer that asked me to do a piece a few years ago, and he wanted me in it. And I just said, I haven't really done anything like that. He goes, no, we want you for what you do. So I'll
Okay,
compose. But then he gave me the score, and there was like a lot of really intense piano parts written out,
sure.
and it was kind of in not like atonal. It wasn't atonal at all, but it was kind of in a very tonal. Well, every section was different, but it was. I'm trying to think of a modern composer to compare it to, and nothing's coming to mind. But it was not really in my style, and I had
Eh,
already given my word, and there was already
oh no.
advertisements.
Oh
So I
no.
had to take all my. I hadn't done anything like that since I was like a teenager in my early 20s. So I had to take all my practice time and devote it to really. And I hadn't even followed a conductor for decades. I haven't been in this. So I did it and it worked out well, but it was like um I had to
work.
really I had to really
I believe it.
and then it was just so hard kind of following a conductor because my brain just doesn't want to do it.
Well, because
And
improvisation is living in that very moment, in that very second, one second to the next. It's
right,
not rehearsed for, I mean, it's the absolute opposite of what you just described.
right. And the thing about it, some of the parts were fairly simple and minimalist, but simple things can be sometimes the hardest things to really do.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
well, you know what else? And you touch this on the book, and I actually talked to Lydia about this. Uh, you can't get more simple than total silence, and to
Right.
play silence like with the same conviction as playing notes. I mean, you talk about Thelonious Monk, and I mean, his rests are more powerful than even his how he strikes the piano. To me, I mean, it's
Right.
amazing.
Well, and that spoken word as well, because it's the power is in the pause,
Exactly.
as illustrating.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it could be for a second, but it could still be very powerful and loud
Right.
silence. Yes, of course.
Now, I want to say one thing. The thing with the composer work, it ended up working out really well, but
Okay.
it was just like I hadn't done that since a year. I've composed a couple pieces for chamber ensembles also,
Okay.
but that's not my strength. I mean, I can do it, but it's not what I usually do, so it doesn't have the
Would you want
overall conviction and authority that I have when I do what I do. Um, which is why Andre should not be making piano albums. But
to just say it one more time? That's right.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sure he's really a beautiful human being.
And I'm sure he's not listening to this podcast either, so I think we're
Right.
safe.
we gotta have some fun with it.
What music do you listen to, or do you listen to music these days? I mean,
I'm an old, tired person, man. When I get
okay,
home at night, I gotta. No, okay, depends. If I need, I listen to a lot of things. I mean, I
okay,
listen to stuff across the board. Um, I tend. Oh, okay. I get a lot of times. I get very nostalgic from my youth here in New York. So I just listen to music
Dance
that.
party.
Yeah, I just listen to music that was played at the Pyramid, and I have a photographic memory for like stuff they used to. In fact, Lydia, you were at the pyramid. You performed at the party for the book release of the book about the pyramid. I was the Me and a guy, Phil, my friend. We were the DJs
You mean
that
just
night.
like 2 years ago or something?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were the DJs.
It's a Martin production. Yeah.
Right. So I at home when I need to like say fuck jazz and get like if I'm pissed off at the jazz business and I'm just sick of everything and I just need to like chill out. It's music that was played at the Pyramid. But other than that, I'm a jazz head. I love jazz,
okay.
and I listen to a lot of jazz of all sorts. But then I go in phases where I'll listen to R&B or I listened to Damage a few weeks ago. you know,
Damage.
yeah, yeah. But I was listening to that. I'll listen to whatever. I mean, I even listened to the Partridge Family recently, believe it or
Whoa,
not. No, only because
yeah,
I
check me
was
out.
thinking about I used to have a crush on Susan Day when I was a kid, and I just went online.
Didn't I have a crush on David Cassidy? Of course I did. Come on. Caddyshack.
Okay, I'm sure you did. Yeah. So I started listening to the Partridge Family for fun.
Wait, was there
Funny.
one song like "I woke up in love this morning"? Was that one of their hits? I woke up in
Yeah.
love. That's all I remember. I have no
I think
idea.
what was that? I think I love you. I forget.
Have you checked out
Oh yeah, oh yeah, that one too.
Have you checked out the Charles Ives piano pieces? Because
Are you kidding? Of
no,
course.
of course you have. Well, I
I
hear
mean, wait. If you listen to the Concord Sonata, there's things in that that
I when I hear you're playing, I can hear some stuff there that reminds me of some of that stuff.
yes, I'm heavy. I'm a heavy
Yeah,
Charles Ives
yeah,
person.
yeah. That's why I went there. Have you heard that? Wall? Yeah,
But I got to say this also. Charles Ives was a big proponent, really inspired by the transcendentalists. Emerson, Thoreau, and Whitman, and
sure.
I'm a transcendentalist motherfucker.
All
I,
right.
I'm really into Emerson and
Rarely
Whitman.
hear those two words together in the same
Have
sentence.
you have
Yeah,
you
yeah.
heard have you heard his piece Waltz Rondo? It's about 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes.
No, I don't know that.
That's check that out. It's five or
Okay.
6 minutes. It's called Waltz Rondo. And Herbert Hank, the new music concert pianist who just passed away, I think last year, he did all the Stockhausen Klavierstück as well. Does an incredible interpretation of that.
No, okay, I'll check that out. I also am a big early hip hop fan, and when I'm in a certain emotional mood and need to express certain things, hip hop is played around the house.
Well, let's get specific with what hip hop. That's rather general. Come on.
Well, no, I mean, stuff around the early '80s.
But
So,
Melly Mel or
yeah, 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 yeah.
Paris. Did you know Paris out of Oakland? I love Paris.
No, no. Did you?
Radical.
I heard a funny story, and I asked the DJ from the Pyramid if it was true. And I heard Brian one time didn't let um Grandmaster in because of that one line in this message of about the fag hag line, and they wouldn't let him in. So this particular DJ played the message like over and over on a loop, like for
uh,
like a half hour or 45 minutes. And I thought that was just hearsay, but I actually asked that I know that DJ and I asked her and she said yes. Yeah.
Another thing you mentioned about that period, which I don't know the answer to, and I've asked many people, is how did we get into every club for free? I mean, forever. I mean,
Right.
we were young and cute, I guess, but we got in for free everywhere. And you
Right.
mentioned in your book, like, you go for a few days, then you're there. That's it. You're in.
Yeah, I somehow got, I started just going out and then people started recognizing. And then there's one person who is very iconic on the scene. And one day she screamed that you're one of the cool people. And
That
it
was
just, yeah, it just seemed like then I just got, accepted. I mean, I don't know why. Were you friends with Rockets at all?
I wasn't really friends with Rockets, but of course I know who he was.
Right. I mean, Rockets is Rockets, whatever you want to say about him. But I used to hang out with him a lot, and he was around John Michel, but he was um involved with Basquiat's life in certain ways, and I was around a lot, some of those people, and I wasn't really friends with John Michel, but I was friends with a lot of people around him, and I used to see him at the clubs all the time, and like once some of those people started taking me around, and I was considered cool. I was getting in free everywhere, and I don't. I don't know how I would, and then I started having a swagger about me where I knew I was cool, and I would just go in and like people go, come on in.
Come on,
What happened?
everybody.
Where did she go? Anyhow, someone's coming.
Trying to get into my club.
Uh, so yeah, that was really intense how that happened. I don't know. I had only been in New York a couple.
So many people, nobody knows how we all got in for free. Did anybody pay to go anywhere? We don't know.
Right. Well, somebody paid, but not us. But yeah, since we mentioned hip hop, my favorite MC has nothing to do with the '80s, and Tim and I have actually done a project with this MC.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
and that's two. We're still waiting for that to come out, but
right.
yes, with Cool Keith,
With Cool Keith, Dr. Octagon. That's my favorite. Dr. Octagon is my favorite hip hop album
of
ever.
all time.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good one to be your favorite for sure.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I mean, I guess I like a lot of '90s stuff too. I mean, the Chronic used to be my favorite hip hop album.
Okay.
And I always wanted to do a project. Okay, apart from being an avant-garde jazz musician, I've done projects with hip hop people. I've always wanted to do a project with Dre,
Okay.
but obviously it never happened.
Well, yeah, and he's also on the other coast, so you're not going to run
Right.
into it. But yeah, there's commercial hip hop from the '90s. I like Busta Rhymes. I like Busta Rhymes.
Wanted to do something with Eminem. That hasn't happened either. Maybe
You
one
do?
day.
She wants to. She knows Eminem well. I mean, the music.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love Eminem, and he worked with Dre, but I actually think he's a genius.
One of my favorite videos and songs is 3 a.m.
Right. No, he's amazing.
Lucky in the line, body's lying all over the floor. I love Eminem.
What's he like as a person?
Oh no, she wants to. She would like to meet him. Maybe.
I thought you knew. Okay,
no.
Here,
I know as well as you know Dr. Dre. We won.
Right. Okay.
We're right here. Yo, hello.
Well, and he also Eminem accompanies certain boxers to the ring. Sometimes he's a big boxing personality, and he hates Donald Trump. So.
Oh yes, big time.
Big time. So we love him.
So the rapper I don't like is Drake.
Right.
I think, but I was kind of heartbroken to find out he's the nephew of Larry Graham from Sly and the Family Stone. Yes, like first, like not like by marriage, by blood.
Right.
And Larry Graham's one of my faves.
No, Larry Graham, was a mentor to Prince in some ways.
Well, he indirectly maybe killed Prince. You know that whole thing, right?
No,
he converted because Larry was Prince's hero, and and Larry converted Prince into Jehovah's Witness. Wasn't allowed to have the blood transfusion for a double hip replacement, and got on opiates.
Oh, okay. So that's indirectly.
Indirectly.
Right.
Yes. I mean, whatever. But yes, that was all part of that.
Did Prince really live the lifestyle of a Jehovah's Witness? I grew up with some family members that were Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, the word was he was doing in Minneapolis. He was knocking on doors.
He was doing field service, right?
Yeah.
Because I know people that told me he's knocked on their door and they opened it up. I have people that have told me that.
I would always say the Jehovah's would come knocking on my door when I lived in Glendale. Like, do you want to hear about Jehovah? I'm like, do you want to hear about Satan? And they were just wrong.
Yeah, that they don't want anything to do with that.
I even got the neighbor to start saying that. Like, don't knock on her door.
Right.
Satan, please, doesn't exist.
Mm.
It was Jehovah, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I had an uncle that was Jehovah's Witness, and I was around it, saw a lot of it, and it wasn't my thing. Let's just leave it at that.
Fair. Hey, let me ask you a technical question. Do you have? I'm sure you do. Do you have a preference of piano brands?
No, because different pianists bring out different things.
Okay.
And one of my favorite pianists, there's a chapter in the book, Paul Bley.
Yep.
A part of his genius was being able to confront different instruments, which as a pianist, everywhere you go,
Yeah.
and he could find the personality of that instrument like instantly. And if you listen to all his records, it's almost like different people. I mean, he could really generate a music based on the personality of the piano. And Paul Bley is like an idol to me. I adore him.
Do you like
Um,
his work with Jocko? The for early Jocko.
he did an album with Chuck.
Yes, he did.
I never heard it.
Yeah, hold on. Yes, let me just fact check that before I embarrass myself. I'm pretty sure it was Paul Bley.
Thing about
Yeah.
pianos too is they're so big. They have so many different parts. They have a certain smell. Each one has a unique smell. I mean,
Right.
I never think of a guitar as really having a smell. Tim
Odor, right?
Dahl's probably smells really good because he does. I don't know, but maybe I will the next time we play together.
Yes, it's Paul Bley and Jocko and Pat Metheny are on it.
Oh, really?
It's 1975,
Oh,
1974.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm not like the
that's
intense
fine.
record collector that like Henry Rollins is, who knows like more about jazz records than I do, and I'm a jazz musician. But anyway, um, every instrument has its own, every brand has its own
Yep.
thing, and then
Vibration.
every instrument apart from that. And to me, they bring out different things. So there's a like Yamaha is bringing out a very specific part of me in the
It's kind
bass register.
bright and clear and heart attack. Is that
The attack and the way kind of the notes kind of work dance together
Sure.
because of the attack. And a Steinway is a whole different type of elegance to it. But it's a different kind of thing, and they bring out different things in me. So I like different bring. I don't have a preference. I probably would rather play Steinways more often than not, but I like, I love Faziolis.
Oh yeah,
Um,
well that's fair. What about Bosendorfers?
um, we have a problem. Me and both.
Oh,
No, I take that back. I actually no. If I get a great Bosendorfer, it's really magic.
okay,
I've had magical things with great, but if it's not a really good Bosendorfer, there's something that doesn't work with my personality
okay,
exactly. And I
sure,
don't, I haven't been. Cecil Taylor was a love Bosendorfers.
yeah,
Randy Weston did.
yeah.
Does Oscar is Oscar? I forgot. Was Oscar Peterson a Bosendorfer?
I actually don't know that, but
I
is it a heavier action? Is it a little
wait,
hard?
Oscar might have been Baldwin. I can't remember. I forgot.
Okay,
I don't know. There's just I don't. It's been a while. I just there's just something about the extra notes and the way it's put together that if it's a great instrument and the workmen were in really good spirits that day, because I believe spirit goes into everything. So
sure.
you feel the spirit of the people that put that together. Even the people that cut the trees down, their spirit enters into it somehow.
Well, the
You
Japanese
know,
thing once it's a different object at that point, it has its own soul.
right.
Yeah,
But where everything, and I mean the animals that if you eat meat, the animal you ate yesterday is a part of you now, and and
sure.
on some metaphysical level somewhere, you guys share a life force, or I mean, everything's interconnected anyway
Yeah,
at all times, and that's the great thing about music. It's my energy field, your energy field as a musician, you as a performance artist and a writer, your energy field enters your listeners is co-creative
yeah.
I call it
space.
impregnation.
That's beautiful. Yes, we're having sex with each other in ways that don't deal with the orifices.
And sometimes it's hate fucking, and sometimes it's love making.
Exactly.
You never know. You never know.
Right. But I I like all the every brand of piano is a challenge for what it is. So I don't even know if like or love or hate
Do you have
enters
any
that equation. It's an exercise in dealing with what is and trying to make my personality and his personality do fuck. Yeah.
Right.
Do
So
you have any toy pianos?
do I have one?
Do you have any toy pianos?
Do I have one? No,
Any?
no.
No.
I would like one. I'm just saying my birthday's coming.
Oh, okay.
Toy piano.
I'll send you a thought form
I'm really creepy. No.
I did play a gig once, and it was basically this little spin. It was almost like a toy piano, and the person pointed to that. I was like, "What?" and they and I had to. It was a private party, and it was a really famous writer at his house actually, and I don't really want to say his name. Um, but it was like this little spin it, and it basically a toy piano, and I played it, and notes started flying around. It was interesting.
Weird.
Keys started flying off. They just went into their own universe. You're left with one white key, one black key, and that's the end of
More or less, yeah. I did a duo with William Parker at this guy's house.
Who was the most lively, maybe outrageous or unpredictable wild card you've ever dealt with in the backstage?
Well, I've dealt with a couple of assholes, and I don't
Okay.
really want to say their name because
All
they're
right.
they're beloved jazz musicians, but I think they're fucking pieces of shit.
Okay. Okay.
Well, everybody has a bad night or a bad year or a bad decade or a bad freaking life.
Do I have
And
I?
everybody has a bad night or a bad day or a bad week or a bad
Right,
life.
right. Well, but one of them has a
I
bad.
bet you Weasel.
Every day is a bad day for
Bet
this
you Weasel.
guy.
He's extremely talented. He is what he is. I'm glad he's still going. That's it.
Right. Okay. I really get a kick out of him. He's one of my favorite people to observe.
Sure.
Um, um, I'm trying to think my backstage experience. Um, well, I try to hide myself from people. I mean, like sometimes people come backstage, but there was a situation when I played with the Davis Ware Quartet where we were at a festival.
Great gig. Yeah.
Yeah, and another named sax player who was on the same bill was in his dressing room and he just kept playing. And David was like, "This motherfucker, he loves the tenor sax so much he can't ever stop fucking playing." And that was a really weird situation. I just remember, but I haven't really had that many. I mean, I shared a dressing room with at a big festival once with somebody was a pretty big pop star, and I'm not going to say it was weird, but they were the strangest human being I've ever met in
Well,
my
come
life.
on, drop a name.
I'm not going to do that. I
Too
can't with it.
discreet. Oh, we got to wait for the next book or the next review. I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah. But this person was just a very strange human being. I mean, it was nothing like, and just observing this person was
Well,
like,
also
what?
just to wrap up about your book. I mean, what's interesting too. I mean, you and I had the same thing about this. We were around a lot of people doing heroin, and we just
Right,
didn't fall into that trap
right,
at
right,
all. Not interesting. Very boring. Both for me in New York and in London, and then I'm ostracized for not being a heroin addict. And they accepted you to some degree, in spite of the fact they were all maybe because jazz musicians doing heroin weren't as self-conscious as rock musicians who if you don't do what they're doing you can't
right,
you're not cool, like they don't trust you because you're not fucked up.
right.
What? Fuck
Well,
off.
yeah, I was around it constantly. I mean, I was an alcoholic back then, but I was around. I mean, as I put in the book, the dichotomy, when I hung up my jazz musicians, when I first moved to New York, I started hanging out with this drummer who's an iconic drummer. He's dead now. He's an older black guy. And I would go up to his apartment and like all my heroes were coming and people I listened to, and there was a shooting gallery. They would all come up to shoot up. I was watching like most of my heroes like on a daily basis shoot up, and they would get really protective of me. They didn't want me. They were cool. They were like, please don't do what I'm doing. And I was like, don't worry, I have no interest. But
Not
then
interested.
hanging out at night at the pyramid in the club as a club kid, half the people on that scene, or a lot of them were shooting up, and and a lot of my friends, were shooting up, and I was just around heroin constantly, and I just had no, interest in it.
Yeah.
I just, and it was just, I mean, I could have fallen into it, but I didn't. And in the book, I thank William Parker, the great bassist, because he's just so straight ahead,
Sure.
but at the same time, he's out there. I mean, he's transcendental,
Yeah.
and to me, so I didn't fall into the trap of like looking for that
Well,
transcendental experience through drugs. I went
through
straight
heroin.
to the yeah. I went through heroin. I went straight to the music, and,
When you
and
in dental, I think doing a lot of acid when I was young or mescaline
right,
before any other drug made me realize what a drug could be as opposed to just mellow, not out, and maybe puke and shit your pants.
right.
So I
Well,
think
I didn't.
I think the experience of doing a lot of acid was definitely a curative for not doing heroin.
Right. I didn't even do a lot of acid. I did it
Well, there's
a
still
little bit.
time.
Right. I did, and I was going to do. I mean, I used to read it like tons of Carlos Castaneda.
Yep.
So I was wanted to get into hallucinogens, but I hallucinate. I see visions
You're
anyway.
already on the plane,
Now, I'm
honey. You're
already there with naturally. DMT secretes out of
it's
my pineal gland at a very big
already
rate.
your third eye is glowing from
Have you
here.
have you ever seen a ghost?
I see I see extraterrestrials more than like forms of people that
Energy.
are dead. So
Okay.
I would say no with the ghost, but I see all kinds of weird shit. I see angels and I see, you know,
Okay.
all kinds of weird shit, man.
All right. Yep.
That's because you are weird, and that's why we love you.
I'm
That's why
definitely.
people need to get your book that's just out now, and your coming album, The
Uh,
Cosmic Piano, and your
this
new album.
this is the
Your
book.
new book is very philosophical, poetic, talks about a lot of people that influence you, that you enjoy, that you know need talking about. Black Mystery School Pianist and Other Writings by Matthew Shipp. He's been there. He's still here. We're still here, and that's why this is the
Yeah,
Lydians.
hey,
Lydia,
we're survivors, and we were on a scene, all of us, where a lot of people aren't, So
we're still having fun.
yeah,
Matthew, is there any shows you want to plug coming up?
the Vision Festival,
Oh yeah.
which I'm playing June 5th.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if Andre 3000 is going to show up.
Where's
Man,
the
Yeah.
Where's
it's
that?
going to happen in Brooklyn at Roulette this year.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Looking
Vision.
forward to
Okay.
it.
Right.
I'm competing with you on the June 5th. Oh no, I'm playing the Stone. All right.
Oh, you
Ah,
are? With who?
boycott this.
Koji Makagami, Japanese vocal guy. Chess Smith on drums,
Oh, cool.
and I think Ned Rothenberger, I think is on. So
Right, right. I've never played with Chess Smith. I've always, in the back of my mind, thought it'd be cool to do a project with
you
him, but
should.
it just never happened.
Sure.
Right.
You
I'm getting old. I mean, I don't know if
Oh, come on, baby. You're still 1 year younger than me, so back
Okay.
off.
Okay.
My age, we'll talk again. By the way,
Okay.
I'm 2 years older than you in a few weeks, so don't worry about it. This is Lydia Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and Matthew Shipp, transcendental, metaphysical, improvisational genius, poet, philosopher. His third eye is vibrating, and here we go. Planet of the Vision Fest, June 5th at Roulette. New book, new record. Dig it.